first this weekend. Many of you know my amazing COO, my Chief Operations Officer, Myra. She and her husband bought a side-by-side and went riding with us for the first time this weekend. So that was tons of fun. And then we all hung out in the backyard for a little while. So that was a real treat for my husband and I, and for Myra and her kids and her husband. So we have with us today, as every Monday for almost the last 2 years, Dr. Brian Dooley, who just got or was named, given the Service Award for Sherman College last week, and weekend was the Lyceum online, and he was given that award for awesome service to Sherman students, to Sherman College, and to Chiropractic at large. So Brian, congratulations.
Oh, I greatly appreciate it, and I would be remiss if I did not mention that I share that award with Dr. Ron Castellucci. And what's cool is, Dr. Ron's one of my biggest brothers in chiropractic, but he's certainly one of my best friends. So he went from a teacher of mine while I was in school to then a colleague to where now we're pretty good buddies. We travel a lot together. I hang out at his house on Fridays so we can just decompress from the week. So he's been a wonderful example. And so I'm just trying to live up to his example. But thank you for mentioning that.
Wow, that's awesome. And congratulations to Dr. Castellucci. Like, both of you have definitely earned it and then some. So thank you so much.
Oh, sure. It's our pleasure. And Sherman's a great play. For us, it's a great sandbox to play in and a great place to represent. So as an alumnus, I couldn't be prouder of the school. But as an employee, I couldn't be prouder either.
Well, I'm not either of those, and I'm very proud of Sherman. Actually, I was just talking to a prospective student last week who was pretty much all ready to go to a different school. And I said, if you can, put the on that. And at least wise, please just go to Sherman first and meet the amazing people there and check out the campus and a superior education on every level. So at any rate, she is considering making a slight detour to Spartanburg to check out Sherman. So I'm happy about that.
Well, thank you. And that's the thing that we say. Listen, just visit the campus. Start there. And we actually have virtual tours online now. So just head to our website, www.sherman.edu, and just check it out. That's all we ask to start with, is just give us a look. And we'll take care of the rest.
I think that attitude is so important in practice as well, to encourage practice members or potential new practice members. Like, let's just do a checkup. If I can help you, I'll tell you. If I can't, I'll tell you that too. But at least wise, you'll know. And for any of you who are watching that have heard me say this one before, it bears repeating. The conversation would be something like this with a potential new practice member. So Brian is that potential new practice member, and I'm going to ask him, or even have this role-playing conversation with an existing practice member to refer. I'd say, hey, Brian, have you ever been to like Walgreens or CVS, and they have those like little booth things that you can sit in, and you slide your arm in it, and then you push a button and it takes your blood pressure?
Oh, yeah.
So if you did that, and it flashed back to like 250 over 120. Obviously, that's really high blood pressure. That's scary high blood pressure, right? What would you have to do anything after reading that?
I would imagine I'd probably tell my wife about it, and she'd make sure I went to the doctor, the medical doctor.
And at least wise, you would know. I mean, there are lots of people that are running around with high blood pressure that don't even know. They're asymptomatic, and yet it's a really critical element of a long life, right? So at least wise, they would know, and then you could go and decide if you wanted to do something about it. Well, nerve pressure is much the same way. You can be completely asymptomatic and not even know you have nerve pressure, and yet it is definitely interfering with the quality of your life now and in the future. And as your chiropractor, that's what I check. I check the presence of and the severity and complexity of nerve interference, nerve pressure in your from your spine and nerve system from a thing called subluxation, which is only what chiropractors do. Like no other healthcare professional checks for vertebral subluxation. So if I could show you a way to receive a checkup and to know if you have nerve pressure, would you be interested?
Yeah. I'd never heard of all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what happens in my office is you'll complete your health history. You and I will talk about your health history. We'll also discuss in detail your health goals. And then I'll do a comprehensive chiropractic exam, which will reveal the severity and complexity of the problems that you have. Then the second day when you come back, I'm going to share all of that with you. I'm going to tell you exactly what I found, what my specific care plan is for you to regain and keep your health, and then answer any questions. And you can decide at that time if you want to do something about it or if you just want to tell your wife and run off into the yonder blue. How does that sound?
No, that sounds great. That sounds great.
Cool. So all of you, checkup, 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 checkup. It's so important to offer the checkup, just like Sherman is doing with their videos of the school. At least check it out. So we're going to talk about paradigm shifts today. What are some of the biggest paradigm shifts that you are noticing in and from your practice members during this COVID-19 thing?
I think they are more aware or cognizant, if you will, of their freedom, and so they don't like being locked up, and not told where to go. They're confused, so that's been some of it. But now, as it's gone on, I think they are just, oh, I'm so glad you're here. It's like, well, I've been here and I've put out that I've been here, but they weren't ready to come in, and that's fair. So I think a lot of it is. It's sort of easy because I don't want to lose this, that, or the other. It's like, well, do you want to hang on to that? Do you want to hang on to the ability to not get stuck being the ones inside because you are at risk? Yeah, I don't want to be at risk. Well, the best way to do that is with a body that's functioning at 100%, and you're here. And this is one of the things that's going to help you do that. And so probably the paradigm shift that they're starting to understand is that health is the entity, disease is not. And so disease is the absence of health. And by entity, it is enthalpy, right? So we have, it's a heat mediated reaction. We have to put effort into being healthy. If we don't put effort into being healthy, then you run yourself for being the more at-risk people, that the next time one of these happens, and there's going to be a next time, that you're the one that's going to have to stay inside and not engage in life as well as you should. And I think they're starting to understand. Yeah, they're understanding because they've taken themselves in some cases off of care plans. Doc, you know what? I really should have just kept coming. Well, why? Because of this. And it's like, yeah, that's exactly right. So I think they're understanding that in order to be healthy, you have to put work into it. And work could be it certainly could be exercising. Work could be eating the way we should eat. Work could be having the relationships we should have. And then work could easily be just driving to the chiropractor's office. That's the work I'm talking about.
I love that. That health is the entity. Like health is what is norm. Disease isn't. Like health is what takes up residence in your body naturally, not disease. And I was thinking, like I wrote on here, that really when we look at our freedoms, the thing that gives us the greatest freedom or that tears our freedom away is ill health. Like even without COVID, you don't have the freedoms available. If you are sick at home, you don't have the same freedoms I have, like at least when you're not exercising them, right? Jennifer says getting back to healthcare and not sick care. Absolutely. I think another paradigm that I see a lot of people wrestling with is the paradigm that other people You know, like I don't think the paradigm shift would be in a negative way, as if people are like, I have to be so suspect of other people.
Mhm.
And I don't think innately we feel that way. Certainly circumstances does that at times, but like right now, I just see that there's so many people who are suspect of others, whether it's us suspect of the government, a
Right.
suspect of like big pharma, a suspect of even our neighbor. Do you have COVID? Like just like so much um, distrust, which I think is a huge paradigm shift. What do you think?
No, I think so. And the I laugh because there's a comedian out there called Sebastian Maniscalco, and if you get a chance to go see him, go see him. And he talks about how when he was a kid, and he's about our age, so when he was at that age, about how there was your mother always had the Entenmann's coffee cake. Now we weren't allowed to eat that because that was for when company came over. And back then, you didn't know when company, oh, it's so good to see you. I was in the neighborhood, And now, when somebody knocks on the door, you're like, who the hell is that? And so
That's
so
hilarious.
the paradigm, and who the hell is calling me on my phone? And so, whereas the old day, the phone's ringing. And so, I think the paradigm shift was a sense of individualism, but we're realizing that we're better off connected. And so chiropractic, how we define life, it's when matter is in motion. So even an atom, and you take the smallest atom that you can do, hydrogen, there's still an electron and a neutron that are coming together. And so as human beings, especially, we are meant to be together. And I think people are starting to see that a good bit, to where, I'm noticing, people are walking outside a whole lot more. People, even I've been home a whole lot more because I haven't traveled for school. I haven't been doing the service because that's what. So it's been nice to be home. So, and my wife and I are a bit better connected. My son and I are a bit better connected. Now our job is, when life, quote unquote, gets back to usual. I don't want to say normal, but usual. That we don't lose that, and taking opportunities to find it. And I have to work as health is the entity, a healthy relationship with my wife is an entity. I have to work at that. I can't just expect it to be there. I have to put effort in. Same thing with my son. Same thing with my daughter, and same thing with my friends or whoever. I have to put effort in to come together somehow and create this connection. And that's where I see people. In the state of South Carolina, we just opened up today to where you could eat outside at a restaurant, 8 feet apart, because apparently 6 feet wasn't good enough, but now it's 8 feet.
Where do they come up with this stuff? Did the
I don't know. But that being said, people are excited, and there's a coffee shop right across the street from me, and I did see people out there, and good for them. It's a start. It's still goofy, but it's a start. And we're built as a society to be connected. And I hope that the paradigm shift that we all have is that we stand up and fight for the things that are making us disconnected. That's when we lose, when big whoever keeps us separate. But power is in numbers. There's power in my cells when they're connected to each other through the nervous system without the interference of the vertebral subluxation. And so just as there's trillions of cells working in coordination, then we have all the people of our community hopefully is working in coordination when we get rid of some of the subluxations of this goofiness. I thought it amazing that, I guess it was this morning when I read it, maybe this weekend, about the murder hornets. Have you read about those? Flipping, there's these hornets, no lie, and I'm assuming it's not a lie. If I look forward and see that these things are fake, I'll be mad. But they came from Japan, and they're called murder hornets. And it's like, this is like a bad James Bond movie. Well, we tried almost starting World War III, in January. We tried releasing the plague, and that didn't get them. Release the murder hornets, and it's just incredible that it's something else just to create fear. I mean, the fact that it's not just a huge hornet. Well, we're going to call it a murder hornet. So words do have power. And I hope people, if there's a paradigm shift, pay attention to the words that people are saying. And then please do the research of whether it's actually flipping true at the end of the day. You know, the classic with Corona, we have all these deaths. Well, some of those deaths are people that died with coronavirus. That's a big difference than they died of it. And it's a small word, but it has a huge difference. Just to understand that probably this thing isn't what people think it is. It's almost not anything worse than any other strain of the flu. So I think that's the paradigm shift that I'm finding, that people are appreciating the connection. They know that they have to work for it. And I hope that just because it's on the internet, it might not be true. And here's the goofy thing. When you look at politically how people are playing it, I would argue that if the political office was shifted as far as the presidency, you'd have the same arguments, but done by different sides. And that's why I'm not a huge fan of politicians, because that's what we do, is we just want to keep people separated. But that's not the business that I'm in. The business that I'm in is about the connections of the cells of the human body in coordination, Principle 32, due to lack of interference of the subluxation, to where when patients say, you know what, I had this happen, my husband quit coming, and, and you could just see it on her face. He just is happier when he's coming to the chiropractor. And if he's happier, what do you think the relationship is between he and his wife? Then what do you think the relationship is between them and their kids? And then them and their families, and them and where they work, and boom, 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 boom. That's what chiropractic does, is it creates connection, one individually, but then through two community-wise.
Mm-hmm. And it's so true that communication leads to connection. It's interesting. You said spending more time with Dawn and your son, because our schedules are so different. And just like what's come out of that? Like today, Ben and I got up for work and like both did our Bible study, and then like got into this 3-hour discussion. Like we never make time for that. And in regular life or whatever. But during Corona or during COVID, we've done that multiple times. And so I really do hope that this leads to some massive paradigm shifts in our relationships, because communication leads to connection on all aspects of our life. Just obviously, just like chiropractic. I love how our chiropractic philosophy is really such a philosophy for all of our lives. I want to, since you went there with politics, I want to say something about that. So if the other side within our profession said, no, you are now a chiropractic physician and you prescribe drugs, that'd be like something to fight for, right?
Absolutely.
So, and I think that's what's happened in politics, is that it's so like the sides are so different, just like in our profession, the sides are so different, the straight versus the non-straights. And like compromise is important, but I feel like the gap has gotten so huge that either it has to be a complete change, or just a little bit of compromise is still not going to be meeting in the middle. And I don't know what the solution is for that, because I'm not willing to abandon our
the hard part is being able to sit down and have discussion. That's the hardest part. One of my favorite, as a political science major, one of my favorite political stories was, and I don't know, so Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill. So Tip O'Neill, very Democrat, Ronald Reagan, very Republican. And I think Ronald Reagan I think it was probably after he got shot, quite frankly. But one of the more poignant things was Tip O'Neill checking on him constantly. And, Reagan, I guess, said, if I get the story right, well, I just wanted to thank you, because we're such enemies. He goes, before 6 o'clock, we're enemies. He said, after 6 o'clock, we're people of America. We're people.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've lost. And so because it's so very, very different, and of course, and I hear, because you go straights and you can go to hate straights, and sometimes that hasn't worked. But then I hear the Haiti mixers too, and it doesn't work as well. So it's a difficult thing to do. The first thing if I have to, how do I want to put it? If I have to be angry and put down your position to bolster my position, then I don't think I have a lot of confidence in my position. Does that make sense? And so it happens everywhere. I mean, I'm a Clemson Tiger fan. I live in South Carolina, so I'll hear Clemson fans want to just tear down South Carolina. It's like, well, that doesn't make us look any better.
Right.
It's what we do. I mean, and Clemson's good now, but it's because of what they're doing, not because of what South Carolina's not doing.
Right.
And that's what we do in politics and everywhere. We want to tear down everything else to where, do we own our own position? So maybe the first paradigm that's coming out of this whole thing is how much more stronger and confident I feel about the need for the chiropractic analysis, and when necessary, the need for the chiropractic adjustment. And that's been a big mind shift for me, because I see the disconnection, and I know without a doubt, from the bottom of my heart, you can't have connection in humanity without first a nervous system free of the interference of subluxation, so innate can be expressed the best way possible.
And I have no doubt that part of this deeper connection chiropractically is because there are new stressors, but stressors within family and being connected and having those conversations and just like physically being in each other's space. It's kind of like, for those of you who I have hugged before, I typically get, "You give the best hugs." Well, part of it is because I give long hugs, which a 30-second hug stimulates oxytocin, right? Like, it just makes sense. So if we're all around each other more, hopefully we're touching each other more, which is also a huge necessary part of being well and getting the exposure that leads to subluxation. I think it's so important in these discussions of like us versus them, or two positions. And if you get angry when somebody challenges your position, yeah, I totally agree with you that the person that's like the most emotional about it, I often find, is the one that's the least grounded in it. Because whether you agree with me or not, in my mind, doesn't change the validity of what I'm saying. So you trying to make me wrong, I don't really care if you try to make me wrong, because I know I'm right. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a fight or whatever. But I also, to me, another indicator is when it goes to personal attacks. Like, you don't even know me and you're personally attacking me. Like, I mean, you see that both politically and even within our profession, right? Of, a straight versus a hate, like a mix or whatever. And it immediately goes to a personal attack. Like, let's just keep it above the board and let's have an open discussion, open communication. That's how we clear subluxation, right? Open communication, and see where there are meeting points. Because I think in almost every conversation, even if it's, we can agree to disagree, we can agree to respect one another, like Tip and Ronald Reagan, right? We can agree to respect one another. It doesn't mean we have to like one another, but we can certainly respect one another. And I don't know how we got on that subject with paradigms.
Well, but I think what a paradigm is, a viewpoint, and the doctor means teach, and so I should be teaching my viewpoint, not I should be teaching my viewpoint, and in teaching my viewpoint, I should be researching my viewpoint. And so if somebody does come in hard with something, boy, why did that tick me off? Is it because they're being ignorant, or is it because they said something that as of right now, I don't have a response to, and I'm more embarrassed than anything? And so we have a job to be learned resources. And so we need to do our readings and we need to have our discussions. Hey, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? So that's part, part of teaching is you got to know it really well. And so I think a paradigm shift, for me has been, I got to do some more stuff. I've had some projects that I need to do. And through those projects, I'm feeling a little bit, how do I want to, I'm feeling stronger in my opinions. And I'm not saying my opinions haven't changed. Some of them have changed. Oh, well, I see it this way now. And here's what evidence is showing me. And now this is what I think about it. And when I have a discussion with people, I try, and my goal isn't to be right. My goal is to find the truth. And so through that, I can just say, hey, this is what I think. Well, what do you think? Well, why do you think that? Oh, that's interesting. And then I take myself out of it and I go read about it for a little bit and see what I can find out. So for me, that's probably the big thing, paradigm shift wise is I want to be better at my craft. Doctor means to teach. And so I need to know my craft really, really well. So, in my case, if there's a subluxation denier, okay, well, here's where I'm going to come from. Here's at the end of the day, guess what? There's not a thing in the world that I'm going to say that's going to change that person's mind. There just isn't. If somebody's so dead set against it, there's just nothing I can do. But I can say my piece. I can say, you know what? I said it every way. So the only choice they have is to attack me personally. If that's the only choice that they have is to attack me personally, then I know that they can't win on the idea. And I'm okay with that because their opinion of me personally is none of my business.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you this. Where do you think foundations fit into these differences? Like if we go back to, and I feel like this is like always a part of the conversation I have when I hear that people really want to change chiropractic. I'm like, yeah, but you have to go back to the beginning.
Right.
Like, how was chiropractic defined at the beginning? And it doesn't mean things don't change, but we don't change the very foundation. It's kind of like a house. Like we have a bunch of work going on outside of our house right now, but we're not changing the structure. We're changing the facade a little bit and maybe new paint and new carpet. But it's still the structure of our home. So whether like politics, so we go back to the U.S. Constitution, right? Chiropractic, we go back to our chiropractic philosophy, DD, BJ, and how was chiropractic defined when it started? Like to me, those are really important things that we don't get to change the foundation. Like we didn't create it, we don't get to change it. And I think
I totally agree with that. And it's the other side of it too, is people, you don't have to, let's take the 33 principles, right? This is what started this conversation. And I tell the students at Sherman, listen, I don't care well, it's not that I don't care. I can't make you agree to these. And at the end of the day, I'm not really concerned that you agree with them as much as you understand them. And for me, I believe that once they fully understand them, then they're going to start to find their belief in them, because that paradigm shift, again, takes work. It's easy to say, I'm going to tell you about principle one in one class, and now that they're going to be an expert, and that's wrong. So I have to be okay with the journey to where I just need you to know what they're saying. And then you can go from there, because then I can come back and say, well, here's where you're violating the principle, or you're enhancing it, or you're proving it. And so I think that's probably, the big thing. The foundation's super important, but at the end of the day, understand what they said. And so it'll be, well, DD said this, or BJ said this. Well, then they also said this as well. So you can't, and this goes for both sides. You can't just cherry pick your favorite, BJ, DD Bible verses, if you will, and just use the ones that just fit whatever opinion you want to have in the moment. And so we need to study them and learn them all. Now, the difficult part with chiropractic philosophy is BJ's not the easiest writer to read. And so it's going to take a little bit more effort, but we owe it to do it. You talk about a position. I was at the ACRAC, ACC, RAC. It was a research thing. And so they had a debate about taking subluxation out of the profession, which I actually found really amazing at a chiropractic event you even had, but they did, and not surprising that event would have it. But one of the people talking about the getting rid of subluxation, she talked about the subluxation side of things only being what was called a navel gazer, where little kids get fixated on their navel and they don't see the world around them. And it's like, all right, I get your point, but I can easily call you a navel gazer by saying that chiropractic is only a musculoskeletal condition thing. So you're staring at your own navel. So we have to all kind of open up and look around a little bit. And to your point about the foundation, chiropractic is pretty straightforward on what it does. If you don't believe that, go do something else. There's plenty of professions out there that deal with musculoskeletal conditions, and you probably get better training at it. So go do that. Go do that and be happy about it. I'm not going to cut you down because of it. And now that you have a doctor of physical therapy, you don't even have the argument, well, at least I can get doctor in front of my name. So go be a DPT. Go for it. Have at it. You know, but chiropractic is about location analysis and correction of the vertical subluxation. That's what it's about. And end of story. I'll get off that soapbox. That was a good one.
No, it was good.
Thank you.
I think we got to go back to the paradigm, the foundation, and as well, I love the idea of like always be learning. I had a discussion with Rich Christensen, my coach, the other day, and we were talking about what are some of the characteristics that all of the world's thought leaders have, like the top influencers and thought leaders, and it's that they're always learning.
Right.
You're always learning. You never actually. I was watching an interview with Stevie Wonder and Lionel Richie, and that was something that Stevie Wonder said too: is like, don't ever think you're the best. Always get better. Like you're not number one. You just got to be better tomorrow than you were today, and keep practicing your craft and keep improving who you are. And never, ever, ever stop learning. And it's okay to go back and go, you know what? I was kind of wrong about that, or I was off a little bit. I mean, that's also part of learning. So at any rate, great discussion as always. Thank you so much. Thanks to each one of you who joined us today. If there's a paradigm shift that you're noticing, that you would like us to discuss, please let us know, and we're happy to throw it up and have an open discussion. Brian and I have been doing this for a couple of years, and it's really been fun. I know I've learned a lot, and I appreciate all of you who Facebook message me or email me or text me and say thank you. I need to do better about reading your messages online to tell you thanks a bunch. And Brian, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, and thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation and meet new people and to learn. It's a good thing.
Absolutely. Have a nice drive home. To all of you, have a great night, and we'll see you next Monday. Bye.
Bye.